Hi friends, we are back once again talking all things mortgages, and I'm with Orla Shevlin from Trussle, who we're working with throughout this podcast series. And the whole thing is looking at finances, because you can't buy a house if you can't borrow the money, or you haven't got the money. Orla, thank you for joining. Good to see you again. I wanted to talk about what mortgage lenders actually look at when they are assessing whether to lend you money, how much money to lend you, and at what rate they're going to lend you that money. What are they really interested in? I suppose it's everything, but can you just talk us through it?
Yes, they can see everything, they know everything, so kind of be honest on your application. So good points, they're looking to see that you manage your finances well, you're not going into your overdraft lots. You can keep up your payments on your credit cards and things like that. There are a few red flags, so they will look out for certain things, and they'll see these things either on your credit report or on your bank statement. So things like payday loans, cash withdrawals from credit cards.
Okay, that's bad, is it?
Yes, it shows that you're kind of maybe mismanaging your funds. You've not got enough money to see through to the end of the month. Credit card's not designed for cash withdrawals. It's either kind of for big purchases, putting on 0% finance, things like that. Very similar, constant use of your overdraft, or maybe even into an unplanned overdraft. It's showing that you potentially can't manage your funds very well, and kind of ultimately they're thinking, how are you going to manage your mortgage? Are we going to get that monthly mortgage payment? As I said, in terms of they're looking at your credit history as well. So they will do full credit checks. So they're looking at, have they got any missed payments lately?
So sorry, can they do a fuller credit check than you can? Because you can credit check yourself, can't you? Can the bank do more than you can?
So the bank, in essence, they can do more than you can. So when you go to the likes of Experian or Check My File, you're kind of accessing one credit report. A lot of lenders will use a combination of 3 different credit reference agencies.
Okay.
And sometimes one may not pick everything up, but others will do. So in that way, they can kind of have a very full picture of you, what you're up to, what you've got outstanding in terms of your credit commitments and things like that.
I just wanted to take a moment in the middle of proceedings here to say a very big thank you to our friends at Trussle.com. They are the sponsors of the whole series. Trussle were the first online mortgage broker, and they've indeed since been voted the best mortgage broker. Not just online, but the best mortgage broker. They are a hassle-free, fee-free way of getting a mortgage, and indeed they are the only broker with a 5-day speed promise. Would you have to submit your full bank statement? So they would see what you're spending at the newsagent and whether you've got a gambling habit or something?
Yes. So going on to on your bank statements, so they'll be able to see everything. If you're transferring money into another account, they'll ask for statements for that account. So if you've got a separate current account you use for gambling, they'll be able to see that.
Okay.
Gambling's seen as a big red flag because ultimately it's risky behaviour. You may win quite a bit, but I don't know, don't bet myself, but ultimately kind of you could lead into trouble later down the line. Sure,
no, I get that. But the point is actually, if you have another account that you use for your activity, they will know about it.
Yes, so they'll see that on their credit search. They'll be able to see how many current accounts you hold, but also if you're transferring money into that other current account, then you'll be able to see that. I know lots of people have different current accounts for kind of bills, joint account, things like that. So really, for your mortgage application, you have 3 months' latest bank statements for each current account.
For each of those accounts?
Yeah.
What fun.
And some people have loads of accounts. It can make things very difficult. But so lenders, kind of everything needs to make sense, especially when it comes to your deposit source. So generally for your application, you'll need proof of deposit. So hopefully that's just 3 months of your latest savings statements. Some people like to break all their deposits up into different places. So really we would need 3 months latest statements for each different account that you're holding your deposit in. You don't want to be putting large transfers all into one account, because they'll simply ask, where has that last large transfer come from?
I was going to ask about that. So does that make a difference if someone has given you 10 grand towards your deposit, Bank of Mum and Dad or something like that. How does that affect things?
So it doesn't affect your application. You'll still be able to go to the same lender.
Sure.
But it just in terms of documentation, you need a gift letter. Your solicitor would also need that gift letter. And that's kind of confirming their relationship to you. And kind of if it's your mum, that is purely a gift. She doesn't expect to be repaid and that she doesn't have a hold over the property in any way.
Okay. Does it? So it means your mum's given you 10 grand. That's great. And therefore that can go towards your deposit. That's great. It'll help your borrowing capacity. But it doesn't exactly prove that you're good with money. If you've got outstanding debts or your credit rating isn't quite what it should be, or issues like that, but you've got a decent deposit because your mum's been very generous, does one cancel out the other?
No. So they'll still do credit checks. They'll still look at how you manage your bank account. They'll look at your pay slips, your income, how much you're using credit cards and things like that. So yes, it doesn't, kind of not having a deposit isn't held against you.
Yes.
If you're using a gift, that's absolutely fine. But they'll still carry out the same credit checks. You could have the biggest deposit and tiny mortgage, but you still will go through the same credit checks as anyone else would.
It's not easy, this business.
No.
Good job you're around, Orla. Good job you're around. A lot of people nowadays are working as freelancers or contractors or salespeople. What happens with things like bonuses or dividends or commission? Are they taken into account when a bank is assessing how much to lend you?
Yeah, so again, it is a bit of a minefield, but that's why it's a good idea to go to a broker and they'll be able to say kind of who's the best lender based on your circumstances.
Okay.
Some lenders will take 3 months average of commission, others will take 6.
Yeah.
Some will use 50%, some could use 100%.
Okay, but they do take it
They
into
do
account.
take it, yeah. So when you're kind of, if you know you're applying for a mortgage application, kind of overtime income as well. So how much overtime do you have? All of that you can give to your broker to then be able to assess the maximum mortgage amount that you'd be able to borrow.
One final question before I let you go, if I may, is about the rent. So if you're paying rent, does a lender take into account that you've been paying rent every month and it's perhaps a similar amount to the level that you may be paying if you were to take on a mortgage? Do they bear that in mind? Unfortunately
not. So they will still carry out their own affordability assessments. So obviously kind of rent in London, you could be looking up to like $1,600 a month. But potentially based on your income, the lender may not think that's an affordable outgoing for you. People pay the rent every month and they say that's more than affordable for you. But they're going to always assess it on their own affordability calculations.
That's tough, isn't it? That's really tough. And I do meet people who paying £600 a month and they've been doing it for years and therefore it's clearly affordable. But it's a bitter pill to swallow if the lender won't recognise that. But I guess, as you say, every lender has a different set of criteria.
Yes, so it may not be the case that...
That lender.
Yeah, that lender. Or there will be things such as you could extend the mortgage term to have that monthly payment slightly lower, but then you could make overpayments on the mortgage and things like that.
Yeah. Always wise and sage advice. Thank you so much for your time.
you.
Really interesting and helpful. Thanks a lot. Good to see you. A few words of warning. Your home may be repossessed if you don't keep up repayments on your mortgage. You may have to pay an early repayment charge to your existing lender if you remortgage. Individual savings may vary and terms and conditions can be found at Trussle.com.